got a great lineup. I'm joined by Baroness Molly Meacher, Chair of the UK All-Party Parliamentary Group for Drug Policy Reform, and Ant Lehane from the drugs advocacy organisation Volte-Face and Secretariat for the Labour Campaign for Drug Reform. They both approve of decriminalisation. They'll be facing off against Conservative SNP and Shadow Community Safety Minister Russell Finlay and Professor Neil McKaganey, Director for the Centre for Drug Misuse Research. So, Molly, I mean, you have previously said you actually think it would be a good thing for young people to give up alcohol and move to Class A drugs, so I presume you're celebrating this move in Scotland.
I think you're misquoting me. I know that I have never actually said that. On the other hand, what I have said is that our drug policy should be based on evidence about how best we can reduce addiction. And there's no doubt, I think, that if you spend money on treatment and you go down the route of Portugal and indeed decriminalise the personal use of even hard drugs, all drugs actually, but refer these people to a tribunal. The tribunal will decide whether you're an addict or whether you're just a social user of a drug. And if you're an addict, then you are contracted to go for treatment. And so long as you go along with that treatment, then you will not go sent into the criminal justice system. In that way, you get far more young people going into treatment. You have far less people sitting in prison learning about the way to commit further crimes and get involved in all sorts of other complicated drug addictions. So there's absolutely no doubt in terms of evidence that decriminalising is the use of drugs is very, very helpful. But you can go further than that, as in Switzerland, and treat heroin addicts and crack addicts. And if you do that, then you actually destroy the industry, because you get people off these drugs. In 18 months, a third of really hard drug addicts were completely removed from the drug world. Another third were leading completely legal lives, and so on. So there are ways of dealing with addiction, and addiction is a health problem. It's not about crime. It's about health. These people need treatment, and if we treat them, then we will save money, save taxpayers' money, rescue families, rescue the addicts, and generally improve society. So absolutely, Scotland needs to get it right, though, the detail.
But Baroness Meacher, the quote I was referring to, and this is why I think it's a slippery slope where Scotland is going, in 2013 you actually told the Today programme that it would be safer for young people to potentially take illegal drugs rather than alcohol. You said the fact is some of these drugs are a good deal safer than tobacco and alcohol. It may be a very good thing if we could get some young people to switch from alcohol. That's what you said. You said alcohol to heroin. I've certainly never said that. But OK, but you were talking about Class A drugs.
I would have been referring to cannabis, which is indeed really rather safer for a lot of people. Cannabis is not good for youngsters, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, because their brains are still developing. But certainly for adults, cannabis is really not that dangerous. Certainly a lot less dangerous than alcohol. But I would not say that about heroin. I really wouldn't. Okay, heroin, you need to treat it. You really need to treat that addiction.
Ant Lehane, let me bring you in. So you agree with this move. Can you understand that my fear is that actually what we're going to get as a result of this is an explosion in drug use as people in Scotland think, actually, I'm not going to be prosecuted. This is great. I'll give cocaine a try. Why not? And we know that there are loads of gateway drugs that can lead to crack cocaine addictions, crystal meth addictions, heroin addictions. And once you're at that point, you've lost the battle.
Well, thanks for having me on, Dan. I think there's no evidence to show, with all due respect, that decriminalising the possession and use of a substance leads to a larger increase of people using that substance. So I respectfully disagree with the point. I think when looking at the most severe addictions, as you highlight, crystal meth, cocaine, crack cocaine, heroin, Often there is a link between adverse childhood trauma or potentially being from a lower socioeconomic background with less opportunity for prosperity. So there's a lot more nuance to it. And I think that by decriminalising the possession of a substance, which is not quite what's happened, is actually a diversionary measure. So it focuses more on rehabilitation.
Effectively it has, though. Effectively.
Well, I think it focuses on a rehabilitative measure in a similar way to Portugal. So instead of criminalising people, locking them up, what you're doing is putting them through a channel where they are given an opportunity to rehabilitate.
But you want to go further than that, though, don't you, Ant? You actually want to see drugs sold legally.
No, I don't. No.
So what's your proposal then?
Speaking from a personal position with my Voltfast hat on, I would say that I think decriminalisation of possession should absolutely happen. I think that...
so not legalisation?
I wouldn't advocate for the legal regulation of all substances personally. I've been on this very channel and said that I do not think cocaine should be legalised and regulated. I've said that it should be decriminalised.
So what should be?
Well, I personally believe, and Voltfast believes, that cannabis should be regulated. But I would say respectfully again, Dan, that this isn't a discussion really about cannabis. What was brought in Scotland, because it's some
Class
fantastic
A drugs. It's damn crystal meth.
But it's
you
not...
can now be walking the streets of Sturgeon, Scotland, with heroin and crystal meth, and you're not going to be dealt with by the police. And I think that's so shocking. So on that
you
note,
are actually going to be dealt with by the police, though, to respectfully bring you in there. The police will still have to book you in. You still have to go through a drug education class. You have to be checked to see if you have a substance use disorder. This is helping people.
You're not going to face prison. It's a slap on the wrist. So on that note, let me bring in the Shadow Community Safety Minister in Scotland, Russell Finlay. I mean, what is Sturgeon playing at here, Russell?
Well, no one knows. It's quite interesting that here we are on GBNews on a Thursday evening having a more detailed debate of this seismic change to drugs laws than we have had in the Scottish Parliament. Nicola Sturgeon didn't announce this herself. She shoved the Lord Advocate into the limelight and got her to do so.
Outrageous. Outrageous. But Sturgeon doesn't like scrutiny, Russell. You know that. Sturgeon doesn't want scrutiny. She doesn't believe in scrutiny.
Yeah, and, you know, this is an SNP problem. The drugs death rate in Scotland, as we know, is 3.5 times that of the rest of the United Kingdom, the worst in Europe. It's more than doubled in the time that Nicola Sturgeon has been First Minister. And when challenged over this earlier this year in a TV debate, she flippantly said she took her eye off the ball. Now, telling young people, telling people with drug addictions and telling drug dealers that, you know what, it's fine now to be in possession of heroin and crack in the streets of Scotland, that is not the answer. What we need to do is put much more focus on rehabilitation. The Scottish Conservatives put forward proposals for a right to rehabilitation, to enshrine that in law. We'll bring forward an act, a bill to that effect. And that's something the SNP should be supporting instead of this.
But would you actually want the cops to crack down harder, though? Would you want the cops to crack down harder?
Well, one interesting thing about yesterday's announcement, one of the questions my colleague Jamie Green asked of the Lord Advocate is what discussion has there been with Police Scotland over this? The officers in the front line who will be having to implement this and decipher it and deal with it. And he didn't get an answer. I don't even know if Police Scotland were consulted. And if so, to what level? This is a highly political decision. It's a huge decision.
I know. And she doesn't want scrutiny. She doesn't believe she needs scrutiny. She's got her majority with the Greens, and you know the Greens love drugs, let's be honest, so she doesn't need she doesn't need a debate. But look, Neil McKegney, as the director of the Centre for Drug Misuse Research, do you agree with me that this could actually cause an increase in drug use in Scotland?
Yes, there's absolutely no doubt about that. I can't believe anybody on this panel would not concede that there's a real risk of an expansion in drug use. You know what the Lord Advocate has just done? She has just given a massive shot in the arm to drug dealing, because effectively she's licensed drug purchasing. So anybody now in possession of illegal drugs up to an unspecified amount could simply claim that they are a drug user, not a drug seller, although that distinction is at best vague. That is effectively a get-out-of-jail card for nothing. Anybody waking up in Scotland tomorrow now has a much tougher task with drug prevention than they had today, for no reason other than the policy which has just been announced by the Lord.
Let's get Baroness Meacher to respond to that. Baroness Meacher, how do you respond? Because that goes completely against what you told me just a few minutes ago.
No,
About police action, being arrested, having their future taken away, and they know now that they can try it. And a portion of those people, not all of them, but a portion of those people will become addicted. Do you not see this is going to lead to more addiction?
No. The very interesting thing about Portugal was that once addiction was seen as a mental health problem, it was not cool at all for young people to take these drugs. And, you know, young people are very, very keen to be cool. They don't want to have a mental health problem. So you have to think of the psychology of all this. And the other thing is, if you put money into treatment instead of locking people up, you've got far greater chance, actually, of reducing the numbers of people addicted. And that's what we're concerned about. Social use is, in a way, neither here nor there. But with these Class A drugs, as you say, they're so addictive that, you know, social use is not really actually very, very possible.
OK, Professor McKegney, how do you respond?
Well, to be honest, for Baroness Meacher, the social use of heroin is not a problem. I'm not sure what planet you're on, Baroness.
No.
That is a massive problem in Scotland. You can actually, there's no question. Excuse me, I didn't interrupt you. There is no question that we need...
I'll let you come back after, Baroness. I'll let you come back after. Just let Neil make his point.
There's no question that we need effective treatment. But treatment will not address the problem of young people starting to use illegal drugs. This is a shot in the arm to drug trading in Scotland. Scotland runs the real risk of becoming the drug capital of drug selling, drug consumption in Europe through this policy. And it's not about denying treatment for addicts. That is absolutely essential. But most people using illegal drugs, for most of them, are not addicts. We need vigorous enforcement to stop the initiation into drug use and the social use of these drugs, which you seem to just set aside as a non-problem. It's a massive problem, Baroness.
Okay, Baroness Meacher, what did you want to pick up on?
That I did not say social use is not a problem. What I said is social use of heroin doesn't really happen because heroin is so addictive. If you use it, you'll almost certainly become addicted. It's a very, very dangerous drug.
And Lahane, the problem is that's now not a crime, Ant.
I think
it is officially a crime, but effectively it's not a crime. It's not a crime that you will be punished for.
The cohort of people who use heroin is fairly low. I don't think that supporting these people and keeping these people alive is a bad thing. I don't think it's going to increase the usage of heroin. As I said, there are very complicated reasons why someone might want to use a substance as damaging as heroin.
But will it increase the use of cocaine? Do you concede that?
I don't think so, no. And I think if there was a very incremental increase, and I'm not talking about a large increase, of course that would be negative, but people might actually seek help. Scotland has the highest drug rate in the whole of Europe. It's 3 times higher than the UK, and the rest of the UK, excuse me, and the rest of the UK is 3 times higher than the rest of Europe. So this is a British issue, and one that we need to get a handle on. The criminalisation of these substances has not worked at this point. The proof is in the pudding. We have tried criminalisation, it's not worked. There's no global evidence to demonstrate that criminalising people who use drugs with possession works or decreases usage or stops people using drugs. And if it did, if you were going to put people in prison, for example, for the possession of substances, where on earth are we going to find the money in our overstretched criminal justice system, our overstretched prison system, to fund this? We are much better placed saving money, saving the taxpayer money, by diverting these people away and giving them a second chance at life. It's just a much better policy, and it's not perfect, but it's a huge improvement.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.